Alright, so the developer update has been announced and people are losing their minds. There's nerfs, buffs, reworks, everything. Map changes, you name it. So I'm going to run you through all the main talking points from the developer update, and I'm going to try and keep it fairly short. Alright, so the first topic is survivor disconnect bots. We've all been there, 5 gens, one of your teammates doesn't like the look of the killer, he's gone, he's out of there. You're faced in an impossible situation, 3 survivors left, 5 generators, things aren't looking good. Well, it won't happen again, because now with the new survivor disconnect bots, when someone DCs, not only will they be faced with a time penalty, but they'll be replaced by a bot that will play probably better. If they're going to give up against the killer, this bot could come in, do a great job. Here's hoping. Next up, let's talk about the ONRYO's massive rework. Firstly, projecting to a TV now applies 3/4 of a stack of condemned to all survivors who are not carrying a cursed tape. It used to be 1. The time a TV is disabled for after the ONRYO projects to it is now 70 seconds, it used to be 100. And the time a TV is disabled after a survivor removes the cursed tape has been increased to 90 seconds, and it used to be 60. This is again to try and encourage survivors to take the tape. Projection now has a 15-second cooldown since there is no longer a range limit on the condemned effect. That brings us on nicely to the cursed tape themselves. Getting hit with a basic attack while carrying a cursed tape will apply 1 stack of condemned. When a survivor carrying a cursed tape is hooked, all other survivors will gain 1 stack of condemned and the tape is destroyed. Holding a cursed tape no longer builds condemned passively, and cursed tapes can now be placed in any TV other than the one they were retrieved from. So you take a tape out of a TV, you can hit any other TV with it, just not the one you've just taken it out of. Demanifestation. The ONRYO will no longer be stunned while demanifested. This has raised a massive question of, does this mean ONRYO can walk through pallets? And only time will tell. I'm sure somebody will be straight onto the PTB to test it when it drops. Chases are prevented when demanifested. So you won't be building bloodlust when demanifested, you won't have your red light anymore. Not that I think you did. And demanifesting now removes bloodlust. So if you had bloodlust, you were mid-chase and you decide to demanifest, you lose that. You lose the light. You're not as noticeable. It sort of adds a bit of mystery to the ONRYO. When she demanifests, you're wondering, where is she? Is she still on me? Do I need to worry about being hit? Alright, let's talk about hook grabs next and how they're changing, because we've all been in the situation where we're in end game, one survivor's on the hook, one survivor is standing by the hook and the killer right next to them, waiting for them to go for the unhook so they can grab the unhooking survivor off and put them in the dying state. The idea for the survivor is to try and fake the unhook, take a hit and then get the unhook, but even then you're running the risk of having to just trade. So that is all changing now. Killers can no longer grab a survivor while they're unhooking, meaning if you have 2 survivors coming in that same endgame situation, both can take a hit as well as get the person off, and all 3 have the possibility of making it out. I've decided to leave the perk changes to a separate video tomorrow so I can cover them more in depth. So we'll be looking at the 3 killers that are affected most from this. First up is the Executioner. Now the Executioner has a mechanic where if he's to walk within 5 meters of the cage while a survivor is in it, it will teleport to the opposite side of the map. This has been up to 10. Is it a nerf? Is it a buff? It's hard to know because some executioners like to go and move the cage and leave it harder for the survivors to get there, because they could be running towards one side of the map, boom, cage is the other side of the map, they can't get there in time, a hook stage is lost. Next up is the Spirit, and the Spirit has been gutted. Or more specifically, her add-ons have. Mother-Daughter Ring has been nerfed, Dried Cherry Blossom has been nerfed, The amulets have been nerfed. The crane and the rusty flute have been changed to make up for what the amulets have been nerfed of, but here's the basics. Mother-daughter ring used to give you 40% movement speed bonus. It's now been reduced to 25, which in retrospect was probably needed. Mother-daughter ring was Spirit's most busted add-on, and it was crazy at times. Dried cherry blossom used to give you killer instinct when you came within 4 meters of a survivor. They've lowered that to 3. Again, probably fair enough. Makes it a bit handier on the survivors that Spirit isn't spotting them while phasing as easy. The amulets and the talisman, I won't offend you by trying to pronounce the words before each, but these add-ons basically increase the duration of Yamaoka's haunting, but they had a secondary effect of making her power recharge faster, so they'll no longer cause the Yamaoka's haunting to recharge faster. They will just increase the duration of the haunting itself. That's where Origami Crane and Rusty Flute come in. They have been increased. So Origami Crane now increases the recovery rate of Yamaoka's haunting by 20%, and Rusty Flute increases it by 40%. They used to be 10% and 25% respectively. Alright, lastly let's talk about Coldwind Farm. Now the fractured cowshed, the devs felt it was too survivor sided, there were too many strong loops around the outer ring of the map, and if a survivor group was to do a central generator, the killer is stuck going round this massive ring of very strong loops, and it's just very hard to navigate, as well as the barn is very strong for survivors and a place where they can waste a lot of the killer's time while making progress on different objectives. To try and counter this, they're moving the barn into the middle of the map, and they're weakening a lot of the loops around the outside. For Rancid Abattoir, on the other hand, the main problem seemed to be the main building, because there was a very strong survivor bit as well as a very pointless freezer room. Because the freezer room only had one entrance, nobody ever went in it, if we're being honest, and if they did, they weren't coming out in the same health state that they went in, because there was one way in, one way out. If a killer watched you walk in there, they were getting a hit. So they've now changed that. They've made the part that was very strong for survivors, they've made it slightly more fair for both sides, and they've put a back door in the freezer room, meaning that you can run straight through it, and people might actually go in the freezer room now. I haven't seen anyone go in the freezer room for a long time, so this is definitely bringing it into the game more. Right, so that's sort of a short update on the main talking points in the developer update. I will leave the link to this page in the description below in case you want to go read it more in depth, find out more yourself. But until then, I will see you guys later, and I think we're in for a very exciting time in Dead by Daylight. If these changes stay beyond the PTB, things could be changing massively. So without further ado, I will see you later. I will hopefully catch you in another video soon, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.